So we're finally in August and it's time to harvest the smallest apples in the world. I thought I'd maybe do a little video about the economics of how the world's smallest apple works, a bit of behind the scenes expose to follow up my award winning 60-second short video just taking the world by storm. So we're getting a good harvest this year. All the little apples. Some of these just falling off the tree. So where I am at the moment, sort of between the sea and the entrance to the hollow earth, I have the perfect tiny orchard for tiny apples, and they provide a great source of passive income for me. It's all about economics and how we can liberate ourselves from corporate technocracy. So how do the economics of the world's smallest apple work? I grow the apples and I harvest them. And then when they're nice and ripe, like it's get very hot at the moment, I leave them out for the little people. And then the next day, in return, the little people will pay me to one of their finely minted pure gold coins. You'd think they'd bring like a little nugget or a little bit of powdered gold. But no, they actually mint their own coins. Comes out very well. So a good bushel. Let's see. So yeah, a good bushel of apples is the equivalent of one little person coin. And it adds up because it's just a natural cycle that you tap into. And sometimes you can leave a request with them as well. They do very good jewellery as well. And as elemental pagans, they don't object to a Celtic cross. Celtic cross can be interpreted in many ways, such as how the sun sets on the horizon. It can be used as a form of navigation as well in those days. So they're fine. It has to be said now, little people are, let's see if I can get this. Little people, they are fine craftsmen. So I plant the trees, harvest them up when they're ready, leave them outside my window. Next day, a few coins. Now, what do little people need so many apples for? Yes, they eat a percentage of them. But a lot of these now would be ready to be turned into cider. Like these ones now, that would make a fine little cider from little people. And then they sell the cider to the goblins. You would notice a lot of goblins around these days. If you walk down your town centre, go to the shops, you'll see them out and about, usually with blue or purple hair. So little people provide the apple cider for the goblins. And the world goes around and around in a series of interconnecting relationships. Because that's what society actually is. It's not economics or technology. It's a series of interlocking relationships and negotiations where people trade energy for time and resources, going around in an endless circle. Now, people, if you can call them that, human beings, are divided between those who go with the flow of the overriding psychic and cultural and political energy they encounter. And these people are what you call dead fish. Because it's only a dead fish that goes with the flow. While on the other hand, the salmon of knowledge swims upstream to return to the source. So what happens there is that a person realizes they can generate their own life from within. They are the endlessly regenerating generator, and they put out their bat signal into the world, which can be felt as a kind of magnetism and charisma. And very strange things happen when you start broadcasting out quite deliberately and consciously your own signal into the world. People are drawn towards you. They actually want to help you rather than impede. People who impede are the people who are in psychotic bewilderment that you're not going with the cultural flow. Now, in very odd states of mind, you can actually see these energies generating out from you, like an opening and collapsing three-dimensional flare of life, which is in constant motion. So everything is in constant creation, from nothing into something. And what you learn to do is to tap into this and then broadcast out your intention and desire, while everybody else is sort of falling into line as a background person as they are processed into the abyss of the technocratic future. Because everything is so convenient, it's best to just outsource your higher mind, higher self, and soul to Microsoft and Pfizer. While those who take on the responsibility of the boundaries and broadcasting of their own mind, you do, of course, immediately realize what ideas are yours and what are attempting to be beamed into your skull. So in that sense, I thought having an orchard of little apple trees all around me on the boundary of the hollow earth would be a fine way to interact with the elemental metaphysical forces that take care of the natural world all around us, which is always changing, evolving, growing in its peaking fecundity. Now, of course, in this material world, we have to figure out those truths of economics. Some people get quite confused on the gold topic because it's quite disappointing if you're trying to get rich quick and you're speculating. What it really is a store of wealth. Cash gets hit by inflation while gold maintains its value as an asset. But because it's also listed on the stock market, it's manipulated as a speculative asset. So everybody awaits price discovery. Because one of the little people was saying to me the other day that, this would go up to, this would be going up to 20 grand in a few years. It's nice how it can appear almost liquidy. And of course, I'd say, well, yeah, 20 grand, that's great, but what kind of world would we be living in? And he said, of course, yeah, it'd be Mad Max. And in the Mad Max world, what's more valuable than gold is obviously food, water, and ammunition. So what is the point? The point is to put cash into an asset. So if we go through a system crash or reset, that when the dust is settled, you can buy back into the new system. While if you just hold on to cash, it depreciates every moment it's out of the bank. And you're gambling that your stocks and shares and bitcoins won't all be set to zero at some point. Of course, they're very quietly introducing the digital euro at the moment. You wonder, yes, where is the Great Awakening and protests? Because another thing people need to be talking about is the Butlerian jihad. Because surely that's something we could all have in common, whatever our political, religious, and spiritual views. I'm sure really we could all get on board with the Butlerian jihad the next few years. That's really another topic. You see, an all digital system turns us all into renters, aka corporate drones and slaves. Because the one thing the owners and engineers of this system don't want is for the little people to have any assets. Because the youth are well trained now just to enjoy streaming music and movies for free. So why put any of your limited income into owning a book or a record? And then it might as well just be renting a bike, renting an Uber, rent your furniture. You might as well just like rent your clothes, because the company store is open 24/7. It just only takes the company dollars. So there's no escape from this plantation. And you would think, how would people ever accept such slavery and fascism, the marriage of corporations to the state? People would have to be very dumbed down to accept the loss of their human rights in exchange for trinkets and the possibility, well, if you were lucky, if your social credit was in good standing, maybe you could get on that train or bus. But otherwise, the all-seeing eye imagines, in its grandest delusions, it can become God in its singularity. Well, in the meantime, in the real world, where 5D and 3D overlaps, you might ask, how do I get out of this system? Well, if you're lucky, on a full moon, you may find a little green man in the tree. And if you don't frighten him away, say hello, a tip of the hat, and a wink in the eye. He'll open the door in the trunk of the tree, the one that leads down a vast wooden spiral staircase. You're putting your foot on the first step. You're counting down as you go. 10. You put your foot on the next step. 9. And again, 8. And then you wake up and find yourself surrounded by loads of little fellas. Have a meeting with them. Now, you're wondering, surely there's another step involved. And yes, that extra special step is the planting of the orchard. And the seeds. Where do you get these tiny, tiny seeds for little apples? Well, that's the secret. You have to ask the little green man and be willing to be hypnotized. So you may manifest anything in your dreams. You have to source your own seedlings. That's something you have to create yourself. But when you find them, plant them in some fine soil halfway between the sea and the nearest entrance to the hollow earth. Plant them under the pale moonlight. And with a bit of luck, you'll be trading in no time.